And on last week's SmackDown, Charlotte Flair suffered an injury during her match with Asuka and was seen being tended to by WWE's medical team after her loss to the Empress. While there's no public update right now, the belief is that Flair will be out indefinitely, and this leaves WWE in a position as needing somebody to fill her spot. According to sources within WWE, the current plan is for Shotzi to be elevated during Flair's absence, with higher-ups having been impressed by the spiky-haired superstar. It was during the post-Survivor Series media scrum that Triple H praised Shotzi's work inside War Games, adding that she solidified her in that role in that upper tier of the division. During a recent interview with WWE Whoosh, Shotzi said that she and Charlotte were talking about a women's tag team title run, and Shotzi is yet to hold gold on the main roster. While that tag title run is no longer a possibility, big things could be in her future, and don't be surprised to see Shotzi hold her own against the top women of SmackDown. As we previously reported, CM Punk has shown a lot of interest in NXT ever since his return to WWE, and has been looking to get into a leadership role at the Performance Center. It was even said that Punk's eventual goal was to become head of NXT, which would see him replace Shawn Michaels, but if that happens, it won't be anytime soon. As an update from Fightful explains, Ibu of Wrestle Purists has a good connection with sources close to Punk, and says that Punk's long-term goal is to succeed the 58-year-old Michaels in heading up NXT. WWE officials tell Fightful that something like that would be a long way off, and that there are no plans as of now for Michaels to wrap up his run in NXT anytime soon. Ibu also noted that Punk would be observing TV production, something that he was known to do in OVW, and would often bend Paul Heyman's ear about. In another update from Nick Hausman, it was stated that Punk won't be a regular face around the WWE Performance Center, but his recent presence at the PC was still a big treat for those talents. Hausman added that when he contacted someone in Punk's camp about the reports of replacing HBK, they sent back a single laughing emoji, as it's not expected to happen soon. It was also stated that in addition to speaking with the young talent at the center, Punk was likely getting medical work done to ensure WWE knows all about his condition now that he's back. We'll have to see what CM Punk wants to do next in WWE, as he has a lot of possibilities, and they may also include some long-term plans in Florida. Right now, CM Punk is still getting adjusted, but it seems that he's fitting in just fine. For more updates, please keep it tuned with us here at Slat Rock Wrestling. In the 19 days since CM Punk walked in front of the WWE Universe in Chicago, it seems everyone's given their 2 cents about his return, and now Chris Jericho is weighed in. Speaking on WFAA, Jericho was asked about the reaction within AEW to Punk's return, and while one of AEW's biggest ever stars is now in WWE, the All Elite roster aren't too bothered. He said, "It's business as usual, it happens. It's the same reason why I'm sure there wasn't a big reaction when Adam Copeland came to AEW, or when Will Ospreay signed with AEW, or when Danielson, Moxley, and Adam Cole came to AEW. It's good for the business that guys have the ability to go between companies. It's great for the fans, and it's great for the talent overall. It just makes the business stronger, and that's the most important thing." Jericho and Punk had a strained relationship in AEW, with Jericho calling Punk a cancer following All Out 2022, words that would be echoed not too long after by Seth Rollins. No matter what he does, CM Punk will always get people talking, but things are just fine and normal in AEW without him, at least if Jericho is to be believed. As a 30-plus year veteran, Chris Jericho has faced practically every notable name in wrestling, and while he's faced plenty of names multiple times, there's some wrestlers he's not wanting a rematch with. Speaking with the Dallas Morning News, Jericho was asked about potential opponents and named 2 that he's not faced in AEW, but has faced before in WWE. "There's no timeline on what I'm doing, so there's really probably no rush. I have a different opinion. I've wrestled Adam Copeland so many times and Christian so many times that I would rather not wrestle against those guys. I mean, obviously we would and have a great match, but I really enjoy working with kind of everybody that I haven't worked with before." Jericho is interested in facing talent newer to him, and heaped praise on Swerve Strickland and Mark Briscoe before turning his attention to the tag team champions Big Bill and Ricky Starks. The inaugural AEW World Champion pointed out that he's never had a tag match with FTR, and hopes that he and Kenny Omega can change that soon enough. The Golden Jets will challenge for the tag titles later this month at World's End, and if victorious, Jericho will be more than happy to defend the gold against FTR when the time is right. At NXT Deadline, Dominik Mysterio lost the North American Championship to Dragon Lee, who was filling in for the injured Wesley, who earned a shot at the gold. In a post-match interview, Mysterio was irate and questioned where the Judgment Day was, and it appears we've seen the last of Dirty Dom on the gold brand. On WWE.com, Mysterio has been replaced on the official show banner for the brand, indicating that he is finished with NXT and was replaced on the banner by Dragon Lee. Lee has already defended his title, putting on a great match on this week's NXT against Tyler Bate, and will defend his title next week against the member of the No Quarter Catch crew. It's interesting that Lee is now the champ, as like Dom, he is a main roster superstar, but whatever the future holds, don't expect Mysterio to appear on Tuesday nights. What do you make of this? Will you miss seeing the self-professed hardened criminal each week on NXT? Let us know down below. On May 4th, WWE will host its first premium live event in France with their annual Backlash show, which will be WWE's first PLE after WrestleMania 40. This week, WWE released the official poster for Backlash, which features some of WWE's top names, including Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton. As fans have pointed out, though, Roman Reigns is nowhere to be seen on the poster, suggesting that the Tribal Chief will not be competing at this milestone event. With this being the first PLE after WrestleMania, one has to wonder if this poster is a sign that Reigns won't be the undisputed WWE Universal Champion after the two-night show in Philly. Roman Reigns' lucrative contract means he often misses notable WWE events, and for now, don't expect to see the Chef de Tribu in France next May. With Randy Orton back on WWE TV, the wrestling world has been watching the Viper very closely, and this week, an old video resurfaced that WWE probably doesn't want you to see. In the clip, a young Orton can be seen getting a cigarette from a fan, and after lighting up, he walked away from the interaction. Orton doesn't smoke anymore and returned in Chicago in incredible shape, but we're sure WWE doesn't want fans to see one of their top stars lighting up in this viral clip. It's been less than 2 years since Tony Khan purchased Ring of Honor, and while fans were excited at the time, it's clear that the initial buzz has truly gone away. Earlier this month, it was reported that ROH Final Battle had sold less than 27% of the available seats for the show, and it appears those in ROH are getting fed up with Khan's management. During his Rumor and Innuendo podcast, Nick Hausman said that he's heard there are some within ROH who are frustrated by the lack of a TV deal and ROH being online. He added, "There are a lot of people frustrated, at least in Ring of Honor, frustrated with how things are going right now. Obviously, we've heard of other frustrations backstage." While the CW network has previously shown interest in ROH, Tony Khan has only shopped the product to Warner Brothers stations as a sign of loyalty to Warner Brothers Discovery. Though this loyalty can be commended to a degree, it doesn't mean that networks possibly interested in ROH aren't being approached, so it's hard to see why some are angry with Khan. Ring of Honor talents aren't the only ones taking issue with Tony's management of ROH, as former ROH owner Kerry Silken addressed his issues on the Insiders podcast, stating, "It's still alive today, it is. It doesn't have, even in the worst of times, my Ring of Honor, even in the worst of times of Sinclair Ring of Honor, there was like, we're all in this together, kind of. It was a family, the fans are family, and I like Tony Khan, and he's a good guy, and he's got so much on his plate that I just think the current Ring of Honor is... I can't come up with the right words, and maybe it's sour grapes a little, but it's not gelled together properly." At this time, it's unknown or whether or not ROH will ever secure a television deal, and we doubt the underwhelming ticket sales for Final Battle will be winning over any networks. What do you make of this situation? Are those in ROH right to be annoyed at Khan? What should he do to secure a TV deal? Let us know down in the comments. We've got news from Mandy Rose now, as yesterday marked the 1-year anniversary of her controversial WWE release, which came just one day after she lost the NXT Women's title. Yesterday, Rose took to social media to reflect on her release and thanked everyone who has shown their support over the past year. The former superstar was clearly emotional as she reflected on her WWE run, and when addressing a return to the ring, admitted that she doesn't know for sure what's to come. Rose has been making a fortune with her exclusive content website, so it's not like she needs to wrestle again. But would you like to see her back in WWE? Let us know in the comments. As a WWE superstar, Baron Corbin knows the importance of keeping physically fit, but this week, the Lone Wolf shared a story from a gym session that didn't go according to plan. Speaking on the Not Sam Wrestling podcast, Corbin recalled wanting to train in jiu-jitsu and how one person at the gym wanted to test themselves against him. He said, "I went to the gym where Shayna trains and Shinsuke trains because I knew it would be safe. Nobody's trying to hurt you. If those guys are there, it's good. Because sometimes you walk into these gyms, and I've been there before. It was a gym in Arizona, I'll never forget. When I was in there just training on a bag when I was playing football, this guy kept, 'Hey man, you want to spar? We got a heavyweight that needs some work.' I was like, 'No, I'm good. I'm just training, doing some bag work.' They're like, 'Come on.' They kept egging me. I was like, 'I don't have headgear, I don't have a mouthpiece, I'm good.' They kept going. I was like, 'Fine.' I asked the gym owner, 'You got headgear and a mouthpiece?' He said, 'Yeah.' I go, 'All right, we'll do a little bit, man, but if you try to bang, we're gonna have problems.' He was like, 'No, I'm good. We're just gonna play.' Sure enough, within 30 seconds, he was trying to kill me. So then I wrecked his entire eye socket. He had to go to the hospital. But if you go to gyms all over, and it really happens, man, they go, 'Oh, he's a WWE star and he was in the NFL.' They want to take a shot like, 'Oh, they're not gonna hurt me, we're in public.' Whatever, I cracked that dude's eye open bad. The guy that owned the gym said he never came back after that." Before Corbin made it to WWE, he was a competitive boxer and is a two-time Golden Gloves Regional Amateur Boxing Champion, something his attacker quickly learned during this fight. Corbin recently won a gold medal at the Jiu-Jitsu World League as well, and it goes to show never to mess with a wrestler, no matter if it's in or out of the ring. For some time, Warner Bros. Discovery has been the home of AEW content, but that could change dramatically very soon, thanks to WWE. On Wrestling Observer Radio, it was pointed out that WWE is currently looking for a home for Monday Night Raw, and that home could end up being none other than a WBD broadcaster. It was added that WWE is leveraging Punk's name as a significant draw to try and secure a new broadcast deal for Raw, and all metrics associated with Punk have been very positive so far. In fact, it was stated on the show that the return of Punk and the strong response so far opened the door for WWE and WBD, as the latter are far more interested in Raw now that Punk's around. A source who spoke to Nick Hausman added that WWE's deal with Warner Bros. Discovery is likely going to happen, and if so, it could see AEW move to Discovery or even Max for streaming. There is a belief that WBD holds ownership in AEW, a claim Tony Khan neither confirmed nor denied when asked, and has instead focused on his own voting and decision-making power. It should be noted that major moves like this have happened before. As while UFC have a deal with ESPN, they allowed UFC's rival PFL to secure a deal with ESPN and ESPN+. The CW deal for NXT is also believed not to insist on exclusivity in the wrestling genre, but the uncertainty remains about whether WBD would entertain two wrestling franchises. As we've stated, Tony Khan has been very loyal to WBD, even if some think it's come at the expense of ROH, but predicting outcomes in negotiations is always challenging. SmackDown's shift to the USA Network was anticipated, while NXT moving to CW seemed unforeseen, and the direction of Raw continues to remain a mystery at this time. What we do know is that Triple H missed the post-Survivor Series Raw to shop Raw around in California, and in the past, WWE's TKO ally UFC made an unexpected change from Spike to NBC. Triple H, Nick Khan, and Mark Shapiro were in New York City this Monday in a meeting with Warner Bros. Discovery headquarters, and they spoke to Bruce Campbell about moving Raw. This isn't the Bruce Campbell of the Evil Dead films, but rather a WBD executive, and after a meeting lasting several hours, Triple H was working at Raw later that night. The report stated that a deal with WWE could have massive repercussions for AEW, and while the current belief is AEW's contracts with WBD expire in 2024, there's been no confirmation of this. So what would happen in a worst-case scenario for Tony Khan? One in which WBD go with Monday Night Raw and, rather than move AEW to Discovery, decide to drop AEW programming entirely. On his podcast, Nick Hausman said that one network that has been brought up to him as a possible home to AEW is FX, who want to market towards the younger, rebellious audience that AEW brings in. FX is available in the majority of homes that have cable in the United States, so could be a potential home for AEW if Warner Bros. Discovery end up going with WWE. But what do you make of this? Will WBD acquire WWE Raw? Could this see AEW move from TBS to the Discovery Channel in a potential ratings struggle? Let us know down in the comments. Earlier this week, Mark Briscoe called out the WWE on Fox Twitter profile after the account used "dem boys" to describe Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. The phrase has often been used in wrestling to describe the Briscoes, and many took issue with the tweet, but now AEW's Twitter account has made a serious blunder with Mark Briscoe. Ahead of this week's Dynamite, the AEW account promoted Mark's match with Jay White, but mistakenly called Mark by the name of his deceased brother, Jay Briscoe. Naturally, this was a huge botch on AEW's part, and fans rightfully called them out on it, and the tweet was taken down, but not before fans screenshotted what was said. For what it's worth, Mark did explain his reasoning for calling out WWE on Fox, saying he's really missing his brother, and let his emotions get the better of him when he said someone should be fired. Mark has not called out AEW's Twitter account for their botched tweet, as this goes to show to always double check what you post online. We've got some sad news to report now, as New Japan Pro Wrestling original Osamu Kido has passed away at the age of 73. Kido, known as Ibushi Jin during his tenure, died in Yokosuka, Kanagawa after battling cancer for years, and on Twitter, Shinsuke Nakamura shared a photo with Kido. In 1972, Kido, alongside Tatsuji Fujinami and Antonio Inoki, teamed together to found New Japan, and we'd like to offer our condolences to those who knew Kido at this sad time. Since turning on his father in Cardiff, Dominik Mysterio has made it clear he thinks Rey is a deadbeat dad, and recently, one of Rey's fellow Hall of Famers joined in on the fun. Speaking on the bump, Mick Foley had praise for how far Dominik has come, and mentioned a time when Rey was less than forthcoming when they were in ECW. He said, "You can only deny a talent like Dirty Dom for so long. I've seen them come and go, and I've seen them die, and Dirty Dom is a kid I've known since he was 4 or 5 years old. It can't be easy growing up with a deadbeat dad like Rey Mysterio. I talked to Rey and he admitted to me that he was a deadbeat dad. He still owes me $5 from the time I met him in ECW in '95. I have every reason to believe that Dom is just trying out his own path, and I really admire that." Mick's comment about Rey was clearly tongue-in-cheek, but it's also clear he's been impressed by Dirty Dom, and many are expecting big things for the ex-con in the years to come. In August, Lacey Evans left WWE as her contract expired, and this week the former superstar stirred up some drama when discussing her career. On the Insight podcast, Evans said she does not miss wrestling, as being in WWE was never her passion, though she did describe WWE as an incredible opportunity for her. Nevertheless, fans took issue with Evans' comments, with one saying that nobody misses her being in WWE, while another said that looking at a wall is more interesting than Evans in the ring. One fan suggested that Evans' attitude is why nobody has signed her since her WWE exit, adding that Triple H was right to fire you, despite the fact being her contract expired. For balance, we should state that Evans told the Insight podcast that she's been approached by promotions, but is simply not interested in returning to the ring at this time. Instead, Evans now runs her own coffee shop, which is also used to host community programs like Alcoholics Anonymous, and she's finding this much more fulfilling than her time in the ring. On this week's Dynamite, Jon Moxley took the lead in the Continental Classic with a win over Swerve Strickland, but it appears the finish of this match featured a massive botch. As some fans have pointed out online, when Moxley got the win, Strickland's shoulders appeared to be up, and this isn't the first time we've seen referee issues in a Jon Moxley match. Fans will remember Moxley's match with Rey Fenix not stopping when it should have, after the former AEW World Champion suffered a concussion. At the time, fans said that the ref should have been punished for not ending the match early, and it's clear that AEW has something of a problem with botched officiating. Next month, Impact Wrestling will officially relaunch as TNA in a move that has had fans excited, and Scott D'Amore is stacking his roster ahead of the move. On Twitter, Impact confirmed that Eddie Edwards has re-signed with the company, noting that he has re-signed with TNA Wrestling. A former tag team champion, X-Division champion, and Impact World champion, Edwards has been under contract since 2014 and is now ready to do plenty as part of TNA. Now tonight's Rampage will see Top Flight and Action Andretti versus Penta, Vikingo, and Commander, and fans are in for a treat, according to Chris Jericho. According to reports from those who were at this week's taping, the match is insanely awesome, and Jericho called it one of the best matches I've ever seen. With a 33-year career, this praise from Jericho is a huge deal, and we'll have to see if this match lives up to expectations tonight. In July of this year, Teddy Hart was arrested and is facing multiple drug-related charges after being pulled over for driving erratically on the road. In addition to marijuana and MDMA, Hart was found with multiple anabolic steroids on him and failed to stop at a red light. Hart was supposed to have a court hearing yesterday for the charges against him, but in legal documents, it's been revealed that his day in court has been postponed to January 11th. Teddy Hart returned to the ring after a 3-year break shortly before his arrest, but has had many run-ins with the law over the years, and we'll keep following his case for further updates. Now, last month, Jim Ross made the decision to take a break from his AEW duties to focus on his health issues, and we now have a timeline for when JR hopes to be back. On his Grilling JR podcast, the WWE Hall of Famer said he's aiming to return in time for AEW World's End, which will take place later this month on December 30th. Of course, JR's health comes before anything else, and he shouldn't return until he's truly ready, but if all goes well, we may be hearing the legendary commentator again very soon. And we're ending with Dynamite, which saw Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega throw some insults at Ricky Starks and Big Bill, including making reference to Bill's time teaming in WWE with Enzo Amore. Whether pointing out that Bill was part of one of NXT's most popular teams ever is an insult, we'll let you be the judge, but the reference to Amore has certainly not gone unnoticed. On Twitter, Matt Hardy was pleased with the Enzo shoutout, and in a tweet of his own, Amore simply said he dresses great. Enzo was with WWE until 2018, and despite making a stir since then, has yet to reach the same heights in any other wrestling promotion. And we'll have to see what's next for him.